Hello and welcome to another Brawl video. This week my supporters on Patreon voted for the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl as our commander, a 4-mana 4/4 squirrel human hero. When she enters or attacks, we get to make a 1/1 green squirrel creature token, and she also has an activated ability for 4 mana, where we now get to create X 1/1 squirrels, where X is the number of squirrels we already control. So this is exponential growth, so it can get out of hand incredibly quickly, and the goal in this deck is going to be to deploy Squirrel Girl and basically make infinite squirrels, either by activating it a bunch, or there's a few combo pieces we can search up to make that infinite combo a lot more reliable. So then if we take a look at our deck breakdown, I've split it up into a few different categories, starting with pure generic mana acceleration, lots of mana elves, so we can get our Squirrel Girl in play ahead of schedule. Then we've got our squirrel section. There's not too many amazing squirrels in Brawl, but a few that are worth including, since the more squirrels we have in play, the more effective the activated ability also becomes. And then we've got multiple tutor effects, which let us search up whatever creature we want, often putting it straight onto the battlefield, sometimes putting it into our hand instead. And then a lot of the creatures we're interested in searching up are in the next category, and these are the combo pieces, since there's a few ways we can generate infinite squirrels in this deck. One involves our commander and its activated ability, especially when paired with Shang-chi, Master of Kung Fu, which lets us activate our abilities of our creatures as though they had haste. And if we pair that with the Enduring Vitality, which now lets all our creatures tap for a mana of any color, we can use the squirrels we generate to make additional squirrels, and once we have enough to start out, we can basically keep activating them over and over, and before you know it, we've got 250 squirrels in play, which is the token limit on Arena. Another way we have of making infinite squirrels is with Scurry Oak plus Ivy Lane Denizen. If we have the Scurry Oak in play and play the Denizen, we get to evolve, making a squirrel token, which in turn triggers the Denizen to put another +1 counter on Scurry Oak. So that's another way of making infinite squirrels, although this one's a bit slower since it takes a lot of manual clicking. So these are some of the combo pieces we want to search up, and then our miscellaneous section has a bit more card draw, some other powerful cards such as our token doublers, which can also be very fun with a Squirrel Girl, and some other new additions like the Steely Resolve, which can name Squirrel to give all of our squirrels Shroud, which can also be a useful ability against removal heavy decks. So that's our deck in a nutshell, pun intended. Now for the deep dive, starting with our mana acceleration, we've got all the typical mana creatures here with Birds of Paradise, Halfling, Elvish Mystic, Aligner Elves. I also like the first tier as an extra body that can maybe tap for mana later with our Enduring Vitality, but it can also rampant growth in the meantime. Utopia Sprawl is perfect. And then the Banjo Mole is great with all these extra mana creatures, which can now generate an extra green mana. Fanatic is great with our commander as it has 4 power, so it can tap for 4 mana. Carotid is a weaker version of the Fanatic. The Leafkin can also often make 2 green mana if we go wide enough. Lotus Cobra can take advantage of some of the fetch lands in the mana base, otherwise we're not really going very deep on landfall synergies, so you could also cut Lotus Cobra and some of the fetch lands if you really want to. Priest of Titania has a few other elves to make more than 1 mana. The Innkeeper makes a treasure and also gains life whenever another creature enters going forward, so it could be a way of gaining infinite life if we set up our combo. Sanctum Weaver can also make more than 1 mana if we control some other enchantments. And then Raphalos makes a mana for every forest we control, and our mana base is mostly forests and fetch lanes. Then we've got a few mana artifacts with Arcane Signet and the Emerald Medallion discounting our green spells. Nissa, our second landfall creature alongside Lotus Cobra, very similar, can also maybe find some extra elves or elementals with its ability if we play the fetch land. And then the Circle of Dreams Druid also rewards us for going wide, making a green for every creature we control. Then we move on to our squirrels, where we have the Thornvolt Forager as another mana creature, can also potentially tap and forage, exiling 3 cards from our graveyard in order to make 2 mana, and then can also use it to tutor up additional squirrels that are in this section, such as maybe our Squirrel Sovereign, giving squirrels +1/+1. Verdant Command can make 2 squirrel tokens to kind of set up our Squirrel Girl to start out. Chitter Spitter can also be a way of generating extra squirrels each turn while pumping them up. The Chomping Changeling, as a Changeling, can also be found with our Forager and can also help blow up artifacts and enchantments. The Curious Forager can maybe return something from our graveyard. The Honored Dray Leader grows with a number of squirrels on the battlefield, also has Trample, so can be a powerful finisher. The Mutable Explorer, another changeling that makes a Mutavault token. Also have Mutavault in our mana base as a land that can turn into a creature with every creature type. The Squirrel Mob grows with the number of squirrels on the battlefield. And then a Toski, a powerful, indestructible and uncounterable squirrel that can also provide additional card advantage if we manage to hit the opponent. Then we get to our tutor effects, where at 1 mana there's the Worldly Tutor at instant speed. Could also play Sylvan Tutor at sorcery speed, but in general I'm not a huge fan of these, since they are card disadvantage despite being very cheap. Then we've got Survival of the Fittest, which we can maybe use multiple times to assemble some of our 2-card combos. We've got Formidable Speaker, can also discard a card to search up a creature. Archerist Charm can search up a creature or can also help us ramp, can also occasionally use it as removal or as a disenchant effect, so it's quite flexible. Shared Summons can find 2 creatures at once and put them in hand, so it can maybe find Scurry Oak plus Denizen, or maybe find Vitality plus Shang-Chi. Then there's Tooth and Nail, which can potentially be entwined to not only find 2 creatures, but immediately put them on the battlefield. So that can also assemble our various 2-card combos, or even get a Craterhoof Behemoth if we just want to end the game. Then we've got the Green Sun Zenith, Finale of Devastation, Nature's Rhythm, and Chord of Calling as these X-spell tutors that can put a creature straight onto the battlefield. The Convoke on Chord of Calling also very useful with our Squirrel tokens. And then we move on to our combo pieces, already mentioned Enduring Vitality, letting our creatures tap for mana. And then we've got the Cryptolitherite, which is kind of the original version, just a 2-mana enchantment doing the same. And these can both go infinite if we have either Shang-Chi or perhaps the 1000-Year Elixir, which is another way for our creatures to immediately tap for mana. We also have the Supportive Parents, which can also theoretically go infinite, assuming we have enough squirrels to start out, since we now need to tap 2 creatures to make 1 mana, so this only goes infinite if we have a lot of squirrels to start out. And then we mentioned Scurry Oak plus Denizen, which is another 2-card combo. And then we move on to our miscellaneous section, where Once Upon a Time can also smooth out our opening hand, Steely Resolve to give our squirrels Shroud, can also give our creature Shroud with Lightning Greaves as well as Haste, so setting up an attack with Squirrel Girl the turn we play it is quite nice, but can also move it onto our mana creatures to immediately tap them for mana, so this could theoretically also go infinite if we pair it with Enduring Vitality or Cryptolithrites and have enough squirrels, but this is going to require a lot of clicking since we constantly need to move the Greaves onto a squirrel to tap it for mana, so that's probably not going to go infinite before we time out. Eternal Witness can get a card back out of our graveyard if maybe one of our combo pieces got answered. We've got the Guardian Projects, as well as Beast Whisper and the Great Henge for card advantage. Can also use the Shamanic Revelation to draw a lot of cards if we manage to go wide first. We've got our Parallel Lives, as well as Doubling Season to double the number of tokens we generate. Doubling Season can also be a way to immediately set up a Planeswalker Ultimate. We just have the one Planeswalker here with Nissa, but that's another payoff for including lots of forests in our mana base to generate extra mana. Leyline of Abundance can also give us a nice mana boost, especially if it's in our opening hand with all those mana creatures. And then Craterhoof Behemoth, another card we're often going to search up with our tutor effects to get the game over with once we go wide enough. And then our mana base is mostly forests, also have Boseiju for additional interaction, Passing Say can help us earthbend, Oak Hollow Village can be a way to put additional +1 counters on our scrolls that just entered, Cavern to make them uncounterable, Mutavault as another changeling, Nykthos can also give us a nice mana boost if we have enough devotion, our commander already provides 3, and then 3-Tree City, another payoff for going wide with a bunch of squirrels, making extra mana. Got the Swarm Yard to maybe regenerate our squirrels, so can be especially effective with our commander. And then we've got a bunch of green fetch lands, as well as Yavimaya, turning all our lands into forests, so we can maybe hang on to a fetch land and save it for when a landfall creature shows up. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, we're on the play, facing Sami, Wildcat, Captain. So an affinity combo deck. This hand feels a little too slow. Opponent's not going to have a ton of interaction, so we don't get punished for having early mana creatures, which is kind of what I need. Even though this hand has a couple tutors, so it does have potential to set up infinite. Alright, this is decent. So then now I just need the Enduring Vitality at some point to pair with Elixir. And then with enough squirrels we can maybe go infinite. Can expect a lot of cheap artifacts to set up Affinity. And even have an artifact land, which can also contribute. The opponent will eventually combo off with cards like Aetherflux Reservoir and Paradox Engine. So it's our goal to try and go underneath that combo. Alright, for now, play Squirrel Girl. And then next turn the Leafkin Druids will also make an extra mana. Araskar Relic. So they won't be able to play Sami unless they've got another ritual effect or maybe a Mox Opal. So where does that leave me? Can Verdant Command and then still play Toski to draw a bunch. Is there anything I need to exile? Probably not. Can even activate 3/3 City. Play Toski, attack, draw 2. Alright, so next turn I should be able to make infinite squirrels with Elixir and then Nature's Rhythm getting Enduring Vitality. But it's possible our opponents play Sami and combos off before I get to do anything else. Although with a city we might have enough mana to just get a Crater Hoof to win on the spot. Would make things easier. But yeah, I guess if we're making infinite mana, I can still rhythm with Harmonize. So, yeah, let's see here. I can activate Squirrel Girl. Since we make the mana back with a city. So this now makes 12. So then we can play the Elixir. A Rhythm for 3. Getting Enduring Vitality. So now all my summoning sick creatures can immediately make mana with Elixir and Vitality. So I can make infinite squirrels. And then with enough squirrels, we can harmonize Nature's Rhythm for 8. Get a Crater Hoof. And smash. I probably wanted to leave a few more attackers available here, but yeah, we still have plenty of damage to spare. And this is kind of the proof of concept. Sweet, on to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw, facing Hei Bai, 5-color shrines. My hand's decent, have some early acceleration, couple tutors, so we can maybe try to assemble one of our combos. And the Changeling's one of our better squirrels, quote-unquote, in the matchup. Opponent with a Caryatid, so they are playing some mana creatures as well. So maybe Green Suns for Banjo Cub, as opposed to maybe saving Finale and Green Suns to set up the Scurry Oak combo. Yeah, kind of like the Banjo Mole here. Will make a bunch of extra mana for us. Could also go for Fanatic and then play Squirrel Girl so it can make 4 mana. I guess it's a close call here. Maybe Fanatic has more upside, especially if I draw a land next turn. Since I only have the 1 mana creature. Alright, opponent's gonna make me discard. Enduring Vitality was a nice draw. So I could blow up the Honden with a Chomping Changeling. And then still play Signet. Seems fine. And then next turn Squirrel Girl. Fanatic makes 4 mana. Take it from there. So then we probably want a finale for our creatures that lets us activate our abilities as though our creatures had haste. So we can pair that with Enduring Vitality and try and make infinite squirrels. Alright, never mind. Opponent's got the Wrath. Wasn't expecting it after seeing the Caryatid. So yeah, that's a setback. Just go for Vitality now. Next turn maybe Eternalize Fanatic out of the graveyard. Opponent seems to have a Swords to Plowshares too here. Path to Exile. Not quite as bad. But yeah. Would have been nice to keep the Vitality even as an enchantment. Goshintai of Life's Origin is next. That's also a problem. Although we drew Scurry Oak, so now the Denizen combo is a lot more realistic. So I think we just cast it. Problem is I need to finally for x equals 4, which is still pretty far away. So I might actually be better off getting the Fanatic back. So this can make 4 mana. So then, yeah, I guess I could already combo next turn. Scurry Oak into Finale for 4. Assuming I draw land. Which I did. So yeah, let's go for it. So our opponent needs to beat infinite squirrels. Keep putting counters on Scurry Oak, which keeps evolving here, making a squirrel token, in turn triggering the Denizen to give us a +1 counter. And rinse and repeat. Can call it quits once we have maybe 25 or 26 squirrels. Just want to make sure we can go wide enough to attack for lethal next turn. Although Shamanic Revelation's also looking good here, drawing a card for each creature we control. Alright, one more. And then the last counter can go on Fanatic, maybe. And do you have another board wipe? You do not, just a Hei Bai. Did find the Sanctum of All, which is quite scary. They can flicker Hei Bai, get another shrine. The Northern Air Temple. And yeah, that's gonna trigger a bunch of times thanks to the Life's Origin. Opponent at 42. So I got punished for not going more infinite. Yeah, that's too bad. So now what are my options? Revelation, draw half of my deck. I mean, I guess the Sovereign pumping the team's pretty good too here. But I guess I'll start here. Tapping the Fanatic. Alright, that's a lot of cards. So what am I looking for? No real way to give Trample, is there? Other than a Crater Hoof, which I'm not casting right now. I guess we do have the Master here. To let my creatures tap for mana right away. So hold on. Can play that. So Raphalos nets me mana. So that can make 4. Well, never mind. We have a Chord of Calling. So I can just get a Crater Hoof here. And that should be more than enough. Alright. I was overcomplicating things. And yeah, opponent scoops it up. Awesome. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, facing Tourach, mono black, discard. So we want to try and empty our hand as quickly as possible. Steely Resolve for Shroud could be useful. Tutor is a bit of card disadvantage, so it's not ideal against a discard deck. But I'll try it. Can tutor at instant speed. Haven't decided what to get. I think I'll wait, since I wouldn't mind hitting some more land drops first. Try the Caryatid, may get removed. Alright, opponent with a medallion, so they can play a kicked Tourach next turn. Shang-Chi was a nice draw, so now Worldly Tutor could go for Enduring Vitality to set up that combo. But of course I will have to discard 2 at random next turn. So could just resolve the Guardian Project as card advantage that's harder for the opponent to interact with. Could go for Squirrel Girl, so I'm less likely to discard Shang-Chi or Tutor. Getting a card draw engine going seems important. Alright, opponent's going to play the Soulstone, which is basically free with a discount from Jet Medallion, into Tourach. Still have Shang-Chi. A land would be a nice draw, so I can Squirrel Girl, tap Carrot it for 2. Wow, opponent also had a Grief. So this was quite the turn. Takes Beast Whisper. And draw Llanowar Elves. Alright, I guess I'll go with the Llanowar Elves. Can still maybe draw lands. Could also play Shang-Chi. Can then tap the Elves for mana, so if I draw a 3-drop I could still cast it. Another land, so they might make me discard that one. I would have enough mana next turn to play Squirrel Girl and activate right away. And a Toxic Deluge to wipe our board, ouch. Well, this game has not been going to plan. Liliana can make me discard, Growing Tourach. So our opponent has had pretty much the perfect start, maybe minus a Dark Ritual. Cryptolitherites would be nice. But yeah, I have to get the Squirrel Girl going. And Davriel can also make me discard alongside Liliana. So it doesn't really matter what I keep. Circle of Dreams at least triggers Guardian Project. Alright, we're both empty-handed, which means Davriel can start dealing damage. They may keep Tourach back on defense to protect their Planeswalkers. Survival's an interesting draw. Might still be better off activating Squirrel Girl to start going wide to maybe attack Liliana before she can ultimate. So I'll do this now before they can draw some instant speed removal. And Liliana keeps plussing.
I'm tired of your secrets.
So should be able to hold off a Liliana ultimate, and wow. Opponent scoops it up, that's pretty aggressive, but yeah, can attack Liliana, preventing an ultimate, making more scrolls in the process. And then, yeah, opponent may not have more sweepers to contain the scrolls to keep up. I'll take it. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, facing Betor, Ancestor's Voice. It's a bit of a life gain sacrifice deck. Our hand's reasonable, especially for Fellows survives. May instantly get removed, but at least we still have a Mutable Explorer for more ramp. And then, yeah, we might be going big with Tooth and Nail. Seeing the downside of having some non-forest lands when you draw our Fellows. Our other payoff for having lots of forests in the deck is Nissa, the 5-mana Planeswalker. But against control, there will be times where it's nice to have a land that can make some extra 2/2s. Start with our forest. And Lightning Greaves. Probably a reason to wait on our Fellows until we can equip it. Opponent with a Sidekick. And Shang-Chi, another way to give Rofellos haste to immediately make mana. But yeah, I think we go Rofellos, equip. And then play the Mutable. And we'll keep the Lightning Greaves on Rofellos. So I could play Squirrel Girl with haste next turn if I'd like. Opponent with a Barrogoyf, that's a nice blocker. Forest is good with Rathalos. So how much mana do I have here? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm 1 away from a kicked Tooth and Nail. I guess we can play Shang-Chi and Squirrel Girl. And then I can still activate the Squirrel Girl's ability. Alright, that's pretty good. Could attack and trade for Barrogoyf. Not sure if I want to protect my commander or Rathalos here. They're both quite valuable. Yeah, maybe actually protect Rathalos. And then no attack. A sweeper would be painful. Alright, I still explore with a fetch land, can make a bunch of mana. And maybe grow the Barrogoyf. But I can just block it with a single squirrel token if I want to. Alright, opponent's gonna reanimate the Stitcher Supplier to mill some more. And we'll just sacrifice a squirrel. Sanctum Weaver can also make extra mana. So I'm still 1 short of Entwined Tooth and Nail. Since this is 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I cannot quite Tooth and Nail for Enduring Vitality and play it. But I can Doubling Season and then activate Squirrel Girl a bunch. Sanctum Weaver can also immediately make 2 mana. So we already have 10 squirrels, and that's probably good enough. Maybe should have activated Mutavault before activating Squirrel Girl, just to have an extra squirrel in play. Alright, I guess we could have also attacked since they didn't have a good blocker back. Sure, just make a few more squirrels. So ideally, would have done that first and then activated it. So I'll pass a turn. And then next turn with the Sanctum Weaver we can easily entwine Tooth and Nail, and I imagine Craterhoof is just game over, but we could also set up Infinite Squirrels instead. Or both if I get Enduring Vitality and Craterhoof. Can hold priority with the Craterhoof trigger on the stack, and then still make all the squirrels I want. So we'll see what our opponent plans to do here. They've got plenty of mana. So mostly lands in the graveyard. And there's Betor. I'll just jump. Okay, so yeah, time to go for it. Tooth and Nail and Twines. I'll go full control. And get Craterhoof and Enduring Vitality. Put both of those in play. With the Craterhoof trigger on the stack. Activate Squirrel Girl, making infinite squirrels, and then infinitely pumping up my team as I attack. Sweet, on to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw, facing Quandrix, the Proof, often chaining together extra turns. But we do have a pretty explosive draw here with Once Upon a Time, Mystic, Fanatic. Opponent starting with a library, so they're gonna take it slow and draw some extra cards. Well, Once Upon a Time, play Mystic, and found the Vitality. So now I can maybe tutor for Shang-Chi. And that's one way of setting up infinite squirrels. So a couple of ways we can sequence. Opponent's busy with their library. And they do have their own mystic. They might have a free spell in hand if they're still deciding something. A Flare of Cultivation, I see. So they're maybe off the library plan. I guess they still get a land in hand, so they could still keep it going next turn. Okay, so could go for Enduring Vitality. Fanatic into Squirrel Girl also makes a lot of mana, so that might still be preferable. Opponent's holding priority, so they could have more free spells in hand. Maybe a Force of Negation would make sense, since it held priority on my non-creature spell, but not my creature. So that could maybe counter the tutor. Now an Oracle of the Alpha. And Formidable Speaker, another tutor, so we don't even have to cast a worldly one. So the plan still Squirrel Girl, Fanatic taps for 4. And then I can get the Enduring Vitality in play. Can tutor at instant speed to get Shang-Chi. Also, if I tutor in the opponent's turn, they cannot Force of Negation for free. Activate Library. Mox Ruby, so they immediately found one of the Power 9. And Birds of Paradise is acceptable. And our opponent foretells what must be Alrund's Epiphany. So they can potentially chain together some extra turns soon. Tutor and get Shang-Chi. If I can find him. Okay, so play Shang-Chi. Can also immediately activate the Circle of Dreams Druids for mana. This makes 4. Activate Squirrel Girl. Possible that playing Circle of Dreams was a mistake, since now I cannot Speaker for Craterhoof to win the game on the spot, which would have been the more obvious play. Now our opponent could still recover by wiping my board with a River's Rebuke or Cyclonic Rift. But yeah, I've got infinite squirrels. Can attack. And if I had gotten Craterhoof, we could have just won right there. Opponent's got another Mox. So at the very least they can take another turn. Mox Amber as well, missing a legendary creature to go with it. And there's the Epiphany, making 2 birds. 250 squirrels still beat 2 birds. Oracle may as well attack. So we'll see. Can our opponent take all the turns? And there's Quandrix. Cascading into and Jace the Mind Sculptor to Brainstorm. Good card, but it's not quite what they need here. So with the remaining mana, I don't see them getting back into it. Have to fully resolve the Brainstorm, so it's not like they can activate the library in between. They can shuffle away the top cards with Flooded Strand. Still only leaves 4 mana at most. I guess if they have a Delve spell, they can maybe still trigger off Quandrix and hit an extra turn card. Time Twister with Cascade, that's fine. And yeah, they actually Went past the time warp there, but yeah, opponent does not have any extra turns lined up. Happy to draw 7, but our opponent's dead. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, facing Captain America, the first Avenger, so an equipment deck. Hand seems decent. Got some good early acceleration, and then hopefully we'll get the Squirrel Girl going. The village can also give our squirrels extra +1 counters. Innkeeper's nice too. So this turn I like Medallion into Leafkin, since we don't have more elves for Priest of Titania. So then next turn I could play Squirrel Girl, make an extra squirrel, and this can tap for 2 right away. And then Craterhoof is going to be a very nice curve topper. So this will name Squirrel. There's a chance, of course, that they have some counterspell up. I think I still like this sequence. Yeah, I guess probably should not have tapped my colorless land, since that doesn't help with a discount. But this can now tap for 2, so it can go Innkeeper into Priest. And then we should be close to casting a Craterhoof already. Opponent casts a Buster Sword. Squirrel Mob the draw. So let's see here. If I play Squirrel Mob, the city makes an extra mana, but it's still not quite enough. So I think we just Craterhoof here, and then I'll have 4 attackers. Yeah, this should be just enough. Get another squirrel. But yeah, that's a turn 4 kill. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, facing Absorbing Man, so it can turn into a copy of an artifact, non-aura, enchantment, or land. Our hand is promising. Get to start with Leyline. I am missing an actual mana creature to synergize with it, but we've got a lot of those in the deck. Opponent with the turn 1 Architect, and now Banter Mole was a nice draw. So we've got 2 Banter Mole effects in play, with Leyline giving us an extra mana as well. Our opponent has an answer bouncing my lands. Because 1 more to cast, I can still just play it, but yeah, now we lost out on all the extra mana, which is a setback. So if they have any fetch lands, they can essentially draw a card here, thanks to the Architect. It's going to be a Time Stream Navigator, so opponent may be trying to set up some extra turns. And Nature's Rhythm, I can still cast for 1. And then get maybe a Delighted Halfling, just to make my spells uncounterable. Could move the Greaves, and then this would still tap for 3 mana total. Yeah, that's enough to still cast a Scurry Oak. And then Greaves probably stays on the Halfling, given the Leyline. So next turn I could finally cast an uncounterable Squirrel Girl. Opponents actually drew one of the islands that they made with Architect. It's pretty lucky in a 100 card deck. And there's Absorbing Man. Mystical Tutor, gonna search something up. Maybe another Time Walk effect. Yep. Temporal Manipulation. So what's my plan? Could just try and tutor up my second part of the Scurry Oak combo, the Denizen. And then I can attack with an infinitely large Scurry Oak. So I need to a Rhythm for 4. And get the Denizen. So I want to get the Scurry Oak up to 21 power at least. So no Squirrel Girl, but still infinite squirrels. So she's happy. And then the last counter can go on the Denizen. Okay, move the Greaves. And attack. Opponent jumps with Navigator. And we'll leave the Greaves on the Scurry Oak. Absorbing Man, I guess, turns into the Lotus, so that can make 3 mana. I guess that's the synergy all along. So they have 7 mana here, now make that 8. So they could easily cast a board wipe. At the very least, take an extra turn. And now they searched up another one of those islands to draw a card. Cauldron can be quite the combo with the Time Stream Navigator. Just sack a creature to take an extra turn over and over. But they do need to have the City's Blessing, which they don't have since the Navigator died before they could get to the City's Blessing. So they need something else. Windswept Heath, also an island that draws a card. Opponent maybe now realizing that they don't have the City's Blessing, so they can't actually take all the turns yet. So they've drawn 4 extra cards of this 1-drop. So what's it gonna be? One with a Multiverse to cast something else for free. That's powerful. And the Master of Mimicry. Okay. Is that it? Yeah, they were really planning to chain together infinite turns here. Untap Absorbing Man, can make 3 more mana. And our opponent explodes, alright. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, facing the Mitotic Ultimus. A large trampler gets a discount similar to Galta. Our hand is missing some early mana, perhaps. A few too many curve toppers in hand. So I'll take a mulligan. This is better. Turn 1 Elves, turn 2 Banter Mole. It's like we're playing Standard. Opponent also with a Mystic. And then I can still play the Medallion. And next turn, a Squirrel Girl with a Sovereign to go with it. And then it's just a matter of activating Squirrel Girl a few times. Cryptolithrite is very exciting. Can potentially tap my squirrels for mana with it. So play a Squirrel Girl into Cryptolithrite. My devotion's also pretty high, so I actually want to play Nykthos here. And wow, opponent just scoops it up, can already activate Squirrel Girl, make a bunch of squirrels, and then with Cryptolithrite we'll quickly have infinite squirrels, especially if we also find Shang-Chi to immediately tap my creatures for mana. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw, facing Lonis, so a blue-green tokens deck. Hand seems fine. Turn 1 Elves, turn 2 Fanatic. Even found another elves. Opponent might have a bounce spell, maybe. Fanatic into Mystic. So we're off to a great start. So assuming this resolves, we can immediately make 4 mana afterwards to try and set up some of our combos. But it looks like they might have a Wash Away in hand. Ooh, Nissa was a good draw though. So yeah, if we want to play around Wash Away, I can just go for Nissa first. And then I'll leave my forest untapped as much as possible. Plus on the land, untapping it. Can attack for 3 thanks to Vigilance. And then I still have 4 mana, so I could finally for 2 get like a Badger Mole or Shang-Chi. Opponent did have a Rapid Hybridization to destroy my forest. So, Court for 1, not particularly exciting. So I think we just let this go. I guess I can Court for 2 here. Yeah, I guess that's worth it. Get Shang-Chi. So then I'm just missing the Enduring Vitality to make infinite squirrels. Opponent resolves Urza. And a Mutavault could be an extra squirrel. So let's see here. I first want to play Squirrel Girl. Fanatic now makes 4 mana. They do still have blue mana thanks to Urza and a Brazen Borrower to bounce. So I'll just make 4 mana response back to hand. And yeah, I'm pretty sure we can go infinite here. Haven't activated Nissa yet. Haven't played a land either. So just need to get Enduring Vitality. Yeah, let's just play the forests. So finally for 3 is enough. And the opponent knows that they're dead, get Enduring Vitality, and then we can tap our squirrels for mana, activating Squirrel Girl, a whole bunch, going infinitely wide, and from there our opponent's going to have a pretty hard time winning. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, facing Shiko, Jeskai control. It's going to be a difficult matchup, especially if they have board wipes. That being said, Halfling to make stuff uncounterable helps. I'll give it a try. And then we've got multiple tutor effects to try and get some of our infinite combos. Although I could also start beating down with a squirrel mob. So hopefully their hand is more counter spells than sweepers. Although counter spells aren't particularly synergistic with Shiko. They had the bolts. Alright, that's a setback. Good Green Suns for another mana elf. Yeah, that may be worth it, although sadly don't have Halfling left to search up. So I'll get Elvish Mystic here in case we draw our 2 mana elf, so it can make more than 1 mana. So especially if they don't have blue mana, we can try our commander. It's going to be a tapped Hallowed Fountain, a Lotus Cobra the draw. Could also try Beast Whisper, but yeah, let's see if we can get our commander going. And they've got a Prismatic Ending for the Squirrel token, that's fine. Innkeeper the draw. So, yeah, Squirrel Girl can attack. Question is what to play alongside it. Could be Beast Whisper. See what happens if we attack. Yeah, but they had a sweeper. It's a bit strange for them to Prismatic Ending there. They might be holding on to a counter spell. Let's see what happens. Beast Whisper resolves. Our opponent will Surveil. Could have also just activated the Squirrel Girl's ability if we didn't want to overextend. But I'm mostly hoping to draw some extra lanes here. So I could Shared Summons, but since we have Beast Whisper, I don't mind going Cobra, play a land, and then maybe play Innkeeper. Opponent counters, that's fine. We got our card out of it. Enchant a Forest. Play Innkeeper. And attack. Alright, opponent's down to 12. Shiko can get back lightning bolts, which would temporarily stop our attacks. Opponent's gonna pass it back. Alright, we'll play the value game. Nissa, play a land. Opponent's gonna bounce Squirrel Girl. Could activate her or just replay her. Possible they have a 1-mana counterspell. Rofellos is now attempting to. Yeah, let's just play a land, make a mana. And replay my commander. If they do draw into a sweeper, we can get back on the board quickly with Rofellos. Could still cast it now. Would make it pretty easy to maybe set up an infinite combo with Shared Summons next turn. But it's possible their sweeper's like a 6-mana Farewell. So I'll keep some leftovers. Opponent's down to 6. So just playing Shiko at this point is probably not good enough. Says no to a Mystical Tutor. I'm sure they would have liked one earlier. And now Quantum Riddler can draw. Draw 2, in fact. So they could have still drawn into a Day of Judgment. Just a flow state. So yeah, they played some powerful cards, but they just didn't quite line up. Chain Lightning Nissa. And an Opt, so they seem pretty dead here. Alright, sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, facing Titania, more of a landfall deck. Our hand has all the pieces we need to set up the Ivy Lane plus Scurry Oak combo. Some early acceleration, once upon a time. Yeah, I'll take a Llanowar Elves, I think. I can Llanowar Elves first, and then next turn Utopia Sprawl. Can immediately tap the Enchanted Land for 2 mana. And a Birds. So then can go Birds into Survival. So I can discard Speaker to get Scurry Oak, which saves me a little bit of mana. Opponent with a Safekeeper, nice pairing with Titania. Take 1. Okay, so can get Scurry Oak and play Scurry Oak, and then next turn Denizen goes infinite. Assuming the Oak does not get removed. There's some other infinites we could go and try and assemble here, like getting the Enduring Vitality and Shang-Chi. to go with Squirrel Girl. But this one seems a little more straightforward. Can our opponent stop us? They've got 4 mana here. Not sure what instant they could be representing, but I think it's worth a try. So we get to evolve, making a squirrel. In turn, growing Scurry Oak, making another squirrel, which will trigger the Denizen, rinse and repeat. And our opponent knows that they're dead. So yeah, we made a lot of squirrels in today's video. Squirrel Girl is a very powerful commander, especially when paired with some of our 2-card combos. So yeah, definitely a deck to watch out for. If you're facing it, your best hope is to mulligan into a board wipe, since those can be incredibly effective. But yeah, otherwise that's gonna do it for today's gameplay. Wanna thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.